Out of all 24 agents in Valorant, who deals the most damage with their abilities? To answer this question, first we need to set some ground rules. We'll test the damage of an ability by using it on either another player or this training range bot. Infinite abilities will be turned off to keep things realistic, recharging abilities is not allowed, and finally, no headshots, to keep things reasonable. Whichever agent does the most total damage with all of their abilities will be the winner. So, with all of that said, let's get started. Astra, Clove, Vade, Arbor, ISO, Omen, Reyna, Sage, and Yoru all don't have any damaging abilities, so they all tie for 16th place with a score of 0 damage. Cypher's tripwires deal 5 damage to any enemies that get caught and take too long to break them. Since the trips reactivate themselves, Cypher could theoretically deal an infinite amount of damage, but I decided to only allow him to deal damage with each of his trips once, landing him in 15th place with a score of 10 damage. Sky's Trailblazer is a great tool for clearing angles, but if you jump on an enemy from the right angle, it deals a whopping 30 damage. Sky places in 14th with a total of 30 damage. Deadlock is her first character who can kill an enemy with just abilities, and we're just getting started. Her ultimate deals a max of 150 damage, putting her in 13th place.
Your strongest was not enough.
Viper's Decay doesn't count for this test, so she only has one snakebite to work with. But she still deals enough damage that we need to switch over to the training range bot. For some reason, her Molly doesn't apply Fragile to the bot, but it deals a total of 79 damage without the Fragile. Add in the double damage from Vulnerable, and Viper places in 12th place with a score of 158 damage. Viper's recent nerf dropped her score by over 100 points of damage. Breach is next, and he just barely beats out Viper. His Aftershock does a total of 160 damage if both ticks hit, so he places in 11th with a score of 160 damage. Gecko only has his Mosh Pit to work with, but it's more than enough. If someone were to stay in the Molly for its full duration, they would take a total of 179 damage, which puts Gecko in 10th place. KO only has his Fragment to use, because Riot still refuses to let his knife one-shot. If someone stands in the center of it for all 4 ticks, it will deal a total of 240 damage, making KO the first agent so far that can destroy a Killjoy ultimate with just one ability, and placing him in 9th place with a score of 240 damage. Jet is the first agent whose abilities can headshot, but I only let her hit body shots since that's more realistic. With that in mind, each of her 5 knives deals 50 damage to the body, landing her in 8th place with a score of 250 damage. Killjoy is one of the most complicated agents for this test, so I had to make some compromises. Each of her mollies deals 180 damage, though they have to be spaced out from each other since they don't stack with each other very well. I didn't let her use her alarm bot to apply the Fragile effect to the bot, since it doesn't actually deal any damage on its own. As for her turret, it could theoretically deal an infinite amount of damage, but I decided to only let it shoot one burst of shots, which deals 18 damage to the body. All in all, Killjoy places in 7th place with a score of 378 damage. Sova's shock darts each deal a max of 75 damage to enemies in the middle of their radius, and each hit from his ultimate deals 80 damage. If you add all of that together, Sova ends up in 6th place with a score of 390 damage. Phoenix is up next, and he's the first agent to crack the top 5. His wall deals around 240 damage, and his Molly deals about the same amount of damage at 240. Both abilities are strangely inconsistent with their damage, but I'm fairly certain that I've gotten the highest damage possible with both abilities. Phoenix places in 5th with a score of 480 damage. Raze is known for killing people with her abilities, so it's no surprise that she's so high up on the list. Her Boombot deals a max of 80 damage from up close. Each of her 2 satchels deal 50 damage after the arming period. Her paint shells deal 55 damage with each explosion for a total of 275 damage, and her ultimate deals a max of 150 damage up close. With all of that damage tallied up, Raze lands in 4th place with a score of 605 damage. Brimstone's abilities are pretty simple, but they deal a lot of damage. His Molly deals a total of around 465 damage, although just like with Phoenix's Molly, its damage is strangely inconsistent and it took me a few tries to get the maximum damage. His ultimate deals a total of 500 damage throughout its whole duration to enemies caught in the middle of it, and with just those 2 abilities, Brimstone places in 3rd with a score of 905 damage. Chamber hardly counts for this video, since he's basically just using normal guns, but they're still abilities so I have to count them. Each bullet from his headhunter deals 55 damage to the body from close range, which tallies up to 440 damage with 8 shots. Every bullet from his ultimate deals 150 damage to the body, so all 5 shots combined deal a total of 750 damage. All in all, Chamber places in second with a score of 1,190 damage. And believe it or not, the highest damaging agent in Valorant is none other than Neon, despite only having her ultimate to work with. One full magazine in her ult deals a total of 720 damage to the body from close range, and her ammo comes back so quickly that no other agent can really compete. If you use her ammo somewhat optimally, Neon deals a total of 3,384 damage with one ultimate, which is almost triple the score of second place. If I allowed her to hit headshots, her damage would have jumped up to 10,206 damage, which is completely unrealistic and absurd. So, at the end of the day, Neon is crowned the victor yet again. If you're looking for an agent that can consistently kill with their abilities without focusing too much on aim, I'd recommend picking up Brimstone or Raze. With all of that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.